I'm Bill Reeburgh, and I'm here today to give a few thoughts about the Reeburgh lecture. Actually, it's the Carolyn Y. and William S. Reeburgh Earth System Science Lecture Endowment. Cynthia Dennis has asked me to not only give a few comments about the origin of this lecture, as well as sort of our vision for it, and then also to introduce the speaker. So in these remarks, I'll leave off introducing the speaker. Carolyn, my wife, and I were both raised believing that if you benefited from an organization or a program that you should find some way to give back. And so for most of our married life, we've done things like spend a lot of volunteer time with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. When we lived in Alaska, all of our kids were Nordic skiers, so we worked on the competition committee for the U.S. Ski Association Nordic Division, spent lots and lots of Friday nights doing double-blind draws and stuff like that. But we're 1,000 miles away from Irvine, and something different has to be done. So number one reason for establishing this lecture is that I'm incredibly proud of the department and what it's become since it was first started. I was one of the initial faculty members. There were 5 of us to begin with when we first started. There was Ralph Cicerone, who of course was the founder of the Geosciences program, and people that were hired by him right away were Darren Toohey and Susan Trumbore and Michael Prather and myself. So we were the 4 or 5 that basically designed and planned this department. And I really, sort of in retrospect, consider the 16 years I spent here at UCI as clearly the best of my career, really a total highlight. And the thing I'm especially proud of is the kind of process we went through when we talked about and laid out the curriculum and the things that had to be part of forming a department. We all recognized we were forming a new department. Actually, we were the first academic department in a new area, Earth System Science. And one of the things that's always been with me is the fact that we all checked our disciplines, our previous disciplines at the door, and we came into every single meeting, and we all had the mindset that we were going to try to put together a really good program, and we talked long and hard about what that program in Earth System Science should contain. This ended up being condensed into 2 proposals. One went to the president's office. It was one to grant degrees, master's and PhD degrees, and it was a pretty ho-hum dry proposal. And then the second proposal, a year later, after we'd been granted authority to grant degrees, was a department proposal. And so it turns out the thing was written so that we could use pieces of it to go back and forth for both of these proposals. One of the other things I think that, so like I say, I'm especially pleased with that process. We had endless meetings. We argued hard. Everybody making a point, but the fact is, I think that with these NRC rankings that came out in 2011, ESS was ranked number 1, and I don't pretend to understand the process that was used or how to interpret the results, but it's I think a remarkable accomplishment for an academic unit to achieve something like that in only 20 years. It was really, really remarkable. So we must have done something correct in all those endless check your discipline at the door meetings. And although we really didn't set out to do this, we wanted to be right, but we didn't. I'm really pleased the way things have worked out this way. We were aiming for some sort of a celebration, an event that got the whole department together. Departments exist to discover, interpret, and transmit new knowledge, and what better way to do that than to have an outstanding outside speaker come in once a year for a big event. It seemed like really the way to go. Chemistry department here at Irvine has a lecture, the Lee Lecture, and I talked extensively with John Heminger and with Ken Chanda about how that's implemented and done, and it really sort of served as a kind of a model for my thinking. We stipulated in the endowment that the speaker be chosen by a committee of researchers. We didn't want this to be a faculty-only thing. We wanted it to be faculty and all researchers, students, postdocs, and even undergraduates, as long as they were associated with a lab. I thought that was one way that we ensured it not just being a buddy, but basically going far and wide and trying to find the best and most interesting person. We requested that there be a round table with the students and the speaker, and round tables are kind of a tradition in both with outside speakers as well as with job candidates here at Earth System Science. They I think are a very good way of being sure that everyone's on the same page. And one of the things that we also stipulated was that the content of the speaker, or the speaker's interest anyway, vary between modeling and measurements. It turns out from the very beginning, Earth System Science has sort of had this tension or balance, if you want to call it that, between modeling and theoretical studies versus field and measurements. And the important thing is that a field like Earth System Science can't advance with one alone. It takes both to keep everybody honest and to really advance with a true rigorous science. And so this has been a very important hallmark of the department, and I wanted that to continue with the lectures. I guess the main thing I want to point is that built-in tension sets ESS well apart from other similar programs across the country, and I think it's again another hallmark of ESS. So this, I guess, concludes pretty much what I have to say in the way of introduction, but I hope this is good for the department. I hope it works well for speakers, and I wish you all well.